card rewards talk, she might be onto something.
Most people should be able to save at least a few $100s every year just by using the right credit cards.
If you travel as much as Peyton Manning,
Extra night in San Diego.
Morning.
or are a diehard Swiftie trying to save on those expensive concert tickets, as these...
So guys, if you travel a lot and you go to some concert, then, credit card can be very beneficial to you, as you can see right here.
commercials will tell you there's a card for everyone, and those cards will save you money. Well, that is, if you have the funds to make the rewards worthwhile.
They could be really
Yeah, guys, key statement right there. We should have the funds to make it work. So this is very important, guys. We don't want to be in a lot of credit card debt. We don't want to be in debt at all. So
useful, or they could be dangerous. I think the biggest tip is to know yourself.
I completely agree with this guy's statement. Knowing yourself, if you're going to pay the credit card back each month, or you're going to make it keep having balance so you get interest. Knowing yourself, knowing what works for you and what doesn't.
Love them or hate them, those plastic or metal cards that can instantly purchase anything from a coffee to a car are no stranger to consumers. More than 80% of Americans own at least one credit card. Every time you pay for something with a credit card, you're borrowing money from the card issuer to cover your purchase. While it might feel like it, it's certainly not free. You then have to pay that money back either in full at the end of the month or over time, with interest.
The average credit card charges
Personally, don't like to have balance remaining on my credit card because all that interest could add up. Very dangerous in my opinion.
about 20% interest these days. So it is a very profitable business.
So, first things first. If you're not in a place where you can pay that money back by the time it's due, experts don't recommend you have a credit card at all.
Paying 20% interest on a balance that you've accumulated, and then you pay interest on top of that. I mean, that's a really big hole that you're continuing to dig, and it's going to be really hard to get out of if you don't pay your credit card balance.
Credit cards require approval. Once you're approved,
We want to pay off our debt.
the bank authorizes a credit limit or the maximum amount of money you can borrow. That depends on factors such as your income, your other debts, and how much available credit you have on other...
Key right there, we want to pay our full balance. As you see, it's a big business.
how much available credit you have on other cards. But here's the caveat. Whether or not you're approved depends on your credit score. Meanwhile, your credit score is determined by your credit report, the information related to your credit activity. Activity you might not have if you don't have a credit card. It's a catch-22.
How do you build your credit history? Well, the simplest thing is really to get a credit card, use your credit card, and pay it on time.
Key right there, guys. We want to pay our credit card on time. We don't want to miss payment. We don't want to accumulate interest. We want to pay it on time, guys. To based on my understanding, raise your credit score if you pay even before the due date, based on my understanding.
And pay it on time.
Credit scores generally range from 300 to 850. The higher the credit score, the more responsible you're deemed. Credit scores not only affect whether or not you get approved for credit cards, but also your credit limit and your interest rate on loans, mortgages, and the terms lenders may assign you. Insurance providers, landlords, and employers might also want to do a check to determine your trustworthiness.
If your goals are to buy a house, get a car, get a loan, the first thing that you need to do in order to build your credit history is to get that credit card going.
Those Jennifer Gardner commercials are for Capital One, but there are numerous companies in the U.S. that offer a wide range of credit cards. There's the issuers, American Express, Discover, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, and then there are the networks. They facilitate transactions between the merchants and the card issuers. The four major card networks are Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. Two of the world's largest card networks, American Express and Discover, are also card issuers. There are standard credit cards, rewards cards, balance transfer, charge, student, business, secured, limited purpose.
I know, guys, so many choices with credit card, but that's why we want to follow my channel so that we can learn more about credit card.
Prepaid cards, and the list goes on. Different options that may or may not be right for you depending on your personal circumstances. Standard credit cards are the most traditional type. They have an annual percentage rate or APR, sign-up bonuses, annual fees, late payment fees, balance transfer fees, foreign transaction fees, and the most exciting, rewards.
There's actually a whole industry dedicated to maximizing credit card points and miles. Some people love it, and they love going down that rabbit hole and treating it like a game.
Bankrate.com senior analyst Ted Rossman earned more than $1,700 in rewards in 2022. But getting the most out of your credit cards depends on your spending habits. Which perks would save you the most money? So, how do you choose?
If your family spends a lot on groceries, get a card that gives 5 or 6% cash back on groceries. Like, that's a really nice inflation buster right there. A second card that's just a solid flat rate, something like 2% cash back on everything.
I agree, guys. So if we're going to spend money on groceries, we want to make sure that we maximize our cash back and using the right credit card so that we're getting the points. So you could utilize those to do more things. You could use to travel, do different things, cash it out.
Most people should be able to get at least $200, $300, $400 a year just by using the right cards.
Rossman says the rewards that get the most attention are often travel related. Flights, hotels, rental cars, access to airport lounges, free or discounted TSA pre-check, priority passes, global entry, or clear to get you through those long airport lines.
I think a really good strategy for a lot of people is one of those transferable points cards, something like Chase Sapphire Reserve or Amex Platinum. Being able to transfer to different airlines and hotels opens up a lot of options. The sort of next level tip is within that, if you find partners of partners, like United's part of the Star Alliance and American is part of One World.
Then there's rewards for dining, groceries, gas, and also complimentary memberships and subscriptions. Big perks for many are extended warranty and purchase protection.
A couple years ago, I actually saved $300 on an Apple Watch repair. The credit card covered the replacement.
But according to Bankrate, Americans
Fantastic point right there. Some of these credit card companies, they offer protection on your device, on your phone. Just have to pay a small deductible and you can get your device back at a reasonable price.
favorite credit card reward is cashback.
I think especially now with high inflation, I mean, who couldn't use more cash, right?
Whereas redeeming for merchandise will likely not get you the most bang for your buck. Other rewards include
We can definitely use more cash. Some credit card right now, they're offering like $200 if you spend $500 within the first month. It's a no-brainer to me, guys, because if you're going to spend $500, why not just get $200 back? Instead of spending $500, you only spend $300.
protection and having the ability to invest your money and take advantage of interest rates. Another thing to consider is how much work you're willing to do. Are you that person who's going to tape notes onto your cards to remind yourself which should be used for different types of purchases?
I know some people that have 30 or more credit cards.
Honestly, about in the wallet and put all my credit card and label in each section. Which one give me the most points for gas? So when I go to the gas station, I could get the most back. Which one give me the most for eating out? Which one give me the most for grocery store? Maximize the amount of money that I could get back from the credit card that I'm using for that particular service or product.
Credit cards, and they have really good credit and they get really good perks, and they're constantly flying first class for free. Now that's not for everybody. With 4 cards, sometimes there can be a game element to this.
Having multiple cards and playing that rewards game can get you some substantial sign-up bonuses, like the Capital One Venture Rewards credit card's 75,000 miles, or Inc. Business Unlimited's $900 in cash back.
If you are playing this rewards game,
These companies give you back money whenever you spend money in a certain amount of time. It could be points or cash, back pretty much free money. If you're going to spend the money anyway, back money to spend your money.
as they like that upfront bonus, you're getting a new credit card and then you close it out, you're losing that credit history. So my recommendation is not to do that. only use a credit card if you can use it responsibly.
I agree 100%. Use our credit card when we can be responsible. What does that mean? I'm not perfect. You're not. Nobody's perfect except for Christ, according to the Bible. So we want to make sure that we have the balance in the account so that we could pay back the credit card each month. The whole point of this, in my opinion, is to maximize the benefits from the credit card and not just use money that we don't have at the moment. Unless we're doing something like mortgage or a car or something like that, then I think that's accumulating debt, a little bit of debt for that. It makes sense.
Balances reached $986 billion.
The big fork in the road is whether or not you carry a balance. If you pay your credit cards in full every month, then yeah, I think you should use your credit card for everything.
We want to pay our credit card balance in full and have that interest adding up. Sometimes, as he said in the beginning, it could be 20%. That's a lot of money that's accumulated over time. So we want to make sure that we have the balance in our checking account, our savings account, so we could pay that credit card balance off at full and it's due or before it's due.
Low interest rate. Meanwhile, a large share of those who owe debt, 40%, don't even know the interest rate for the primary card on which they owe money.
One of the biggest things that we see about the spending of credit cards and those that are using it incorrectly are those that are either from lower income households, those that are just talking to them about money.
A recent Bankrate survey found that 30% of those without a high school degree didn't redeem their rewards, compared to 16% with a 4-year degree. And the lower an American's income, the more likely...
Subscribe to the channel, educate you guys more in credit card so that you're maximizing the benefit, guys.
Rewards sit as well. More than 30% of those with annual household incomes below $50,000 left value on the table, compared to about 20% of those with incomes between $50,000 and nearly $80,000, and just more than 10% with incomes of $100,000 or more. Sage Mint Wealth Managing Partner Ann Tran says culture plays a big part in how people spend.
I grew up in an immigrant family. I wasn't taught about personal finance. You just make as much money as you can and get yourself out and build wealth for
most of us personal finance guys. That's why we want to follow somebody like myself so we can learn more about personal finance.
Tran recommends having 2 credit cards and 3 if you're a business owner. 1 for primary expenses, a second as a backup, and a third to keep business expenses separate. She says there should also be thought going into your credit card limit and your spending ratio.
Let's say you have one credit card and you've got a $10,000 limit on there and you spent all the way up to $9,000. That actually will lower your credit score because your credit to debt ratio is not good because you've used up most of your credit. So the rule of thumb is, I would say, try to stick around 30% in using what your credit availability is. And so that's why having a second card will give you a little bit of leeway in giving you more credit to spend.
For those with credit card debt, while experts don't recommend you open multiple credit cards and try to maximize your rewards, that doesn't mean you shouldn't work on ways to build your credit so that you can get to that place.
If you have credit card debt, half of cardholders, but you need to put your interest rate first. So maybe seek out a 0% balance transfer card, or stick to the lowest rate card you can find, or just use cash or debit until you're debt free.
One of the ways that I personally like to use credit card is by getting 0 annual fee, because you pretty much not going to pay any fee on the credit card for the year, versus if you just go and apply and you get a one that's charging an enormous amount of fees per year. That's not going to be good. Plus interest, guys. That to me, unless you see it's worth it, if you fly a lot, if you do other things such as dining, all these different things, and you could it surpasses what you're doing, the benefits surpasses what the debt that you would be in, then I would say that go ahead. But I would just recommend getting a 0 annual fee credit card for the beginning, so that you could be learning the process as well, guys, and not just accumulating debt.
A lot of cashback rewards cards that do not have annual fees that will give you 1% back on all your purchases. And that is probably the most simple.
Now, let's say you get to a place where you've got some plastic in hand and you're feeling good about those rewards. The work doesn't end there. She says you should continue to reevaluate your debt and credit cards at least once a month.
Tracking your finances, whether it's on an Excel spreadsheet or using an app like Mint.com, something that...
Yeah, guys, I always say when it comes to money, most people don't play. So we want to make sure that we're looking at our personal finance.
will track what all of your assets, all of your debt and liabilities are so that you know where everything is.
And if you're racking up those points, use them. Almost a quarter of rewards credit card holders haven't redeemed any rewards in the past year. And that's an improvement from the 31% of those who didn't in the preceding 12 months.
It doesn't get more valuable over time. In fact, a lot of times these programs change their rules in ways that the industry calls devaluations. Like basically it costs more points or miles to get the free flight or the free hotel stay. So use them sooner rather than later, and then cash back too. That can lose value to inflation.
Most people are scared of money, and you shouldn't be. If you know the facts and you understand how money works, it can be really empowering.
Right, guys, it's very important that we are able to manage our money, have credit cards and stuff, because those could accumulate a ton of interest rate.